Good.
Do I start all over?
No.
Okay, so we'll move on to treaty land acknowledgement. Trustee Leonard? Do I start over? Oh, I'm afraid to shut that call just a moment. Okay, so we'll move on to treaty land acknowledgement. Trustee Leonard?
You have to mute the YouTube.
Oh, I'm afraid to shut that call just a moment. Okay, so we'll move on to treaty land acknowledgement.
You have to mute the
Okay, Trustee Leonard?
We are party to Treaty 6, and as such, we wish to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is Treaty 6 territory and a traditional meeting ground for many Indigenous people. We recognize the diversity of First Nations who have at one time lived across the territory, as well as the presence of the Métis Nation.
Thank you. As we have no public forum, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. Are there any additions?
Madam Chair, I have an addition. I wish to add to the agenda Ponoka, Lacombe, calendar, and transportation on November 29th, 2020.
That is 5.5. Roll call. Transportation. Any other additions? Any deletions? Ask that someone make a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Trustee Miller?
I move that the board approve the agenda as amended.
In favor? 2.1 is the approval of minutes. Would someone like to make a motion first and then go ahead.
That the board approve the minutes for the regular meeting of May 15th, 2024 as circulated.
Thank you. I believe everyone's had a chance to look them over. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Look at the board priorities and goals. Next thing on the agenda is the board chair report. Have a look at it. There's something. Is there any questions? No questions, we'll move on to the superintendent report. Do we have any questions? I just had a couple of questions. And I said, well, to you, item number 6, bullet 4 was an Indigenous education coach. It renewed to hire someone. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll ask Assistant Superintendent Cardinal to speak to that.
So we did interview, but there was not a successful candidate from the interviews. So what we did was we consulted with the administrators and reviewed the priorities, reviewed the Indigenous lead role, and looked at possible alternatives, which they provided to us. which I will review with the new senior admin team in August. And then we'll move forward with some type of a plan moving forward.
Thank you. So Superintendent Bouchard, I had one more, item number 7, bullet 6. I see you've hired 3 new principals and 5 new vice principals. Are all the principals and vice principals now been hired for the division?
They have been, Madam
Oh,
Chair.
thank you, good news. Your work is done in that. Any other questions for the superintendent report? We will move on to Secretary Treasurer report. Any questions for the Secretary Treasurer? No questions, we will move to action items. Oh, wait a minute, sorry, I don't want to jump past the third quarter financial report. I'll turn it over to the Secretary Treasurer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, I'll go straight to the graphs, Madam Chair, and we are looking at, the first one is relates to faith. And we have seen that there has been some significant utilization of those particular funds at central office in the school based and the schools. And however, we still have about just under 30% to go in the last few months, but most people are still in June. I just need to highlight that typically our schools actually take the students for their retreats in the month of June. So we still see that there will be some significant utilization of those funds, especially in the month of June. There are some bits and pieces also coming through from end of May, but it's essentially want to highlight under the professional development that we also see that we are on 72% utilization of those funds. But most significant, especially under the central office, there is about 40,000 that is still unutilized, which relates to the professional development fund for teachers. And the uptake of that, although it improved this year, but still there's still some lethargy in terms of uptake. And I think we continue to have with the Assistant Superintendent in HR. We just want to add on to.
I certainly can, as we know from our collective agreement, that we do have a professional development fund that's outlined in the collective agreement. And we've worked quite closely with the Staff Development Fund Committee to ensure that there's improved uptake. Changes in the collective agreement last year were to improve that, which we did. However, it is still not being fully utilized and leaving funds unused in that area.
And then for the First Nations, I think we're happy to say there's a good utilization and of course some of that you find under the central office. It is true that obviously we didn't have that resource internally, but most of it was referred to the schools. And a specialized learning support. You see that, we have good utilization of that at 100%, but of course, at central office, we still see that there will be some utilization, which actually relates more to the salaries that will be coming in. Take you to the next. Take it to the next. In terms of our statement of operations, What we noticed is that in terms of our revenue, we expect that our revenue will be at 1 or 2% recovery in terms of we will be able to receive all the revenues that we budgeted. And obviously there are some increases that we actually expected, more so under the JP program, where obviously we received more than what we had actually budgeted. And also on the sales and services and products, we see a significant increase in terms of the amount of 100,000 there. And this is really to do with the activities that are actually happening in the schools than what we actually anticipated at the budgeting point. When you look at the expenses, we are also just over 101%. That's what we expect it to be. And in terms of staffing cost, we are, I think it will be more clarified in the next page. Maybe we'll just go straight to the next page, which actually amplifies those expenses. Hope you can see this. Yeah, but otherwise, in terms of staffing cost, we are actually expecting that we'll be just we'll get to where exactly we budgeted it for, and we are expecting a surplus for about 200, 260. That's the kind of projection that we have right now. So I think we are in good standing right now, and I don't think it's going to be any less than this. In last is on the summary of the school decentralized expenditures. Yeah, I think of significance. Perhaps I want to draw your attention. Perhaps you can just focus on the yellow and the red. Perhaps you can move for now. So on average, we are basically on 80% utilization in terms of these in terms of those particular funds. There are some schools, of course, that have got that are lagging behind perhaps what we would have expected to be. But talking to the schools themselves, yeah, they still have some activities that are happening that will actually utilize those funds. But I also want to indicate that schools are actually allowed to carry over 2%, the maximum of 2% of their revenues. If they have any surpluses, they are allowed to carry it forward into operating reserves, and they actually form part of that unspent funds. So I have no doubt that those funds will be utilized by the time we get to the end of the year. If they also have good access as well, they can also, if they have any future capital plans, they can also transfer them to the capital reserves as well. But otherwise, this is the report.
That's really good. You have any questions?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
I was just wanting to ask Nick, so this here, the school's decentralized expenses, that's up until the end of June?
This is actually end of June, but the issues, this is projected up to the end of August. But the issues to do with the transfers to the capital reserves and also allowing that the 2% into operating reserves, that is not catered for in there. But that one, those are the two that are out, what I would say are within the unspent. There are also some aspects dealing with where the schools actually want to purchase some equipment. Yeah, those ones were not particularly projected as such, but they are also going to be utilizing some of those funds as well before they actually do the transfers.
So most schools didn't spend what they could have.
Okay, at the moment, based on the projections, there are schools that are still under. Okay,
Right.
But they are also mindful of the fact that we also want to transfer some funds into capital reserves if they have any capital plans that they need for the following years, and also to carry over into operating reserves.
But only 2%.
Yeah, it's up to 2%.
So trustee Miller.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I do have 3 questions, but you can address those how you like. But under the board priorities and key indicator pieces under professional development, it's page 3 of the report, or 21 of 57. I see that we're at 72.06% of the total budget, still have Q4 to go, and it has been addressed and commented on already. But if we are currently looking at approximately, if my math is correct, $40,000 that has been unused by teachers through the collective agreement, how will that money be used or carried forward, or what will be done with the unused portion of this area?
Okay, and maybe I'll start with the last part. What will be done by the unused for? If there are any unused funds that are under the professional development, because professional development is some of it is driven by the division, some of it is driven by the individuals, staff themselves. But where there are some monies that are carried forward, these actually go into our surplus, which will be then carried forward into the following year. Although our desire would really have been to spend all the monies in the current year.
Superintendent Bouchard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to add further to the comments. So the collective agreement does allow for a portion to be carried forward of unspent funds in that area. So there's that. But further to the question, that is something for the Labor Committee to be mindful of. If the local were to say we need more money in the staff development fund, right, we would in turn say we would look at the utilization to see if that's warranted, or if there should be an extra amount allowed to be carried forward, because I think the evidence for the last few years show that it hasn't been fully utilized. But there was, when the fund was originally negotiated, a desire from the local that it would go to the local. Those trustees maybe, and we said no, we would want to retain that and have it go to reserves and carry forward into the next school year to be reallocated in other areas. So that is what happens to that money. So a portion is defined, and then the rest does come back to the division.
There was another part to that.
No, I have 2 more.
2 more, go ahead.
On page 5 of the report, or 2357 in the statement of operations, under revenues, when we look at other revenues, so it might be a 3-part question. But what falls under other revenues? I see we originally budgeted for 6,000, currently at 41,000, looking at a 684% increase in that. And then when we look at the audited financial statements from last year, it was actually at 125. So the question is, what constitutes the other revenues? And is this something we need to look at in the future with such a wide range of actual income in this area?
What I would say in terms of other revenues, these are things that you cannot really anticipate. So it's difficult even to budget them with accuracy going forward. The reason being that I will speak to the 2022-2023, that actually related to where there was some sales in terms of equipment, computer equipment that was actually sold, and that actually raised part of that money. The other amount related to areas where we, the outreach, when it was actually transferred, and there were some accounting issues that related to it, and also then it impacted on that. But the significant amount of it related to the sale of the computer equipment, which even if we know that we are going to be selling computers, can never really get to estimate it with good accuracy. So these are miscellaneous items, if I may call them. If there are certain areas or certain items that relate to the other components within that statement of operations, they will be classified as such. But otherwise, you cannot relate to them certainly.
Related to this question? Yeah. Yes, go ahead, trustee Marco.
So I'm just curious, just above that, it says sales of services and products. So if there's sales of equipment, how come it doesn't go into that category? It goes into other instead?
Okay. All right. Okay. Sales and services and products actually relates to school generated funds. So these are activities that happen in the schools where they sell, their canteens and their kitchens or whatever. So those are related to school generated funds, whilst the other revenues are related to it.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead, trustee Miller.
Thank you. Under system admin on the statement of operations, again, it's at 112%, we're at Q3. So my understanding is this number would only go up in Q4, because system admin is 12 months, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess what is the reason for the overage? Is it the collective agreement, or? I need more information on that.
All right. Those numbers that you see are projected to the end of August. So whilst it is 12 months, yes, but they're already projected up to the end of August. Makes sense?
Because it does, because it does say that the budget number is 2.09 million, and currently projection is Q3, not Q4, is 2.3 million. So I'm looking at that going, we're already $280,000 over budget in that area with a full quarter to go.
Okay. Maybe let me address the first aspect to say we are in Q3, but we're projecting to the end of the year. So whilst we have got actuals up to Q3, then we also have a projection for the last quarter. So to still make 12 months. So those numbers are projected for 12 months. So there's a projection for 1 quarter and actuals for 3 quarters. So we are actually saying those are the numbers that we anticipate to be at the end of August. By the end of August, right? And that would actually include obviously the other areas that we actually approved by the board in terms of the extra additional expenditures, for example, in the CCSTA aspects, and also the hiring of the superintendent. They are already included in there. So we don't expect it to be more than perhaps what it is right now. We actually trying to be a bit more. We are not being conservative in terms of our projection, so we don't expect it to be more than that, even by the time that we get to August. And also just to highlight, the good thing is that we also find if on this, the good thing is that we are still, at least we have a level about 5,000 surplus in that packet, which we aim to attain.
Surplus is always good.
That we can never have a deficit in the year.
Any other questions for the Secretary Treasurer on the Q3 financial report? No other questions, then we shall move on to the action items. Thank you so much. 5.1, the joint grade 9 field trip to Victoria, BC. This would be Assistant Superintendent Laurie.
Yes, so this is a request for the Victoria trip for Mother DeVille grade 9s, as well as the Christ the King grade 9s. The itinerary is there for your preview, and it's May 1st to 4th of 2025.
Thank you. Would someone like to make that motion? Go ahead, Trustee Chair.
I move that the board give approval to Christ the King and DeKalb Mother DeVille Schools request for their grade 9 students to travel to Victoria, BC from May 1st to 4th, 2025, as presented. It is understood that the board assumes no financial liability to the students and/or their parents should the board cancel an approved trip.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Assistant Superintendent regarding this field trip? There's no questions, then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Looks like a lovely trip. Love going to Victoria in May. His flowers. 5.2, the Alberta School Councils Association membership renewal. This would be Superintendent Bouchard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in your package, you have a letter from the Alberta School Councils Association. Firstly, thanking us for previous sponsorship of school councils in the past, but also asking the board to continue with the practice of paying the membership fees on behalf of school councils for the 24-25 school year. So there is a motion there before you for debate consideration.
Thank you. Could I ask a trustee to make that motion?
That the board pay the membership fees for the Alberta School Councils Association for all division school councils for the 2024-25 school year.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding that? Any discussion? Yes, Trustee DeMarco.
Do we have the utilization of schools who have either accessed or attended the conference that ASCA puts on every year?
Membership fees?
So
then attending the conference.
So utilizing the resources that ASCA has, obviously that's probably not trackable because it's a website based, but how many schools are sending an individual from their school councils to the AGM that happens in April? Do you know? Because we pay for the membership, plus we pay for 2 individuals from each school to send somebody to the AGM. I'm just wondering what the utilization is for people that are engaged with ASCA.
Superintendent Bouchard.
So we typically have between 2 and 6 individuals attend. So I know the 2 motions are related. This is speaking specifically to the membership fees. The next motion is, but I understand that they're related, and that's, I do understand where the question is coming from, but typically it would be 2 to 6 individuals.
So as far as the membership fees, there are other things that they can utilize, not just the conference. Trustee Efron.
And then maybe to add on to that, to get any information, the ASCA AGM just finished, it will be in the reports from the schools. We will know that. So in this discussion, to me, it will be in September once they send all those reports. But then again, to the question of utilization, we know how ASCA has been in the last few years here, and to that we will probably look at that utilization process and what we do with that in the future. That's just my comment on that.
Trustee DeMarco.
Could I propose, and I don't know if I can do this with the motion on the floor, but can I propose that we survey our schools to see if they find benefit in being a part of ASCA? Because I mean, right now we're paying, if we approve it, we'd be paying $1,375 for the membership. And then in addition to that, the cost for the conference, which I realize is a separate situation right now, but I think that we should poll our schools and see if they're utilizing it, because if not, maybe we need to reevaluate and put that funding in a different way to support our schools.
I know the school council, well, when I attended school council, they have utilized it. They've utilized it to help with setting up things, a whole bunch of things, because there's different things on that website that they found very useful. But I don't know if every school does that. But just to speak to this motion first, we need to go back to the motion. Is there any other discussion on this motion? Trustee Linder.
I just have two questions, and they might be a bit in the weeds, so if they can't be answered, it's understandable. But first question would be, how is the communication distributed to the school councils about this membership that they have? Is it through email? Is it through a letter? Is it through the principal? That's my first question.
Yes, Trustee Superintendent Bouchard. The answer to that question?
I'm not, that's a good question, Trustee Leonard. I'm not sure exactly how we have done that. I mean, they're notified that their memberships have been paid. I don't know how that gets communicated to a new executive in September.
So. In the previous. In September, the principals, trustees, when they go to the meetings, advised and then encouraged for that utilization. Trustee Miller was part of ASCA years back, and that is when they had a lot of resources and were going into schools to support. So that is the practice that have been. And then ASCA itself at the time was reaching out because they know in September to have some brand new boards and things like that, parents coming together. So for me, what I know is that yes, in the past they have reached out, but I don't know what they've been doing in a few years now that they have some struggles.
Trustee Miller.
Maybe just to help the conversation or the question that was asked, in my previous experience, we received a letter. How that came directly to the new executive or through the principal, I'm not sure. I remember receiving letters that membership has been paid.
Trustee Linder.
So again, second question also might be a bit in the weeds, so I understand it might be difficult to answer, but the logins for the school council membership, that would be the online access, is that given just to the chair or the executive as a whole, or the whole school council, or is that dependent upon, it might range based on school councils?
Trustee Miller, you perhaps have the answer?
I perhaps have the answer. It is given to the school council. So there might be one login that you can share that login. And as a trustee, if we support division-wide, trustees will also have a login. And it might be one login. I haven't logged in to see any of it yet, but something along those lines. But we as trustees also have access as long as we support division.
I know at my school council meeting, they did share the login with the other council members. It's just. Any other questions about this one? And we're back to calling the question. All those in favor? Do you want it read again, perhaps? The board paid the membership fees to the Alberta School Council Association for all division school councils for the 24-25 school year. All those in favor? Trustee Miller and Marco?
Not in favor.
So that's passed. Five point three, and this is related, the Alberta School Council Association membership renewal. Mr. Bouchard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as partially touched on in the last conversation, the board has a longstanding tradition, again, of sponsoring attendance of 2 members from each school council to attend the ASCA conference and AGM. The background information is there, but you can see what's covered, and that's what is communicated to the school councils.
Thank you. Would someone like to put forward this motion? Anyone, trustee? Trustee?
I can put forward that motion.
Okay,
That the board sponsors attendance of 2 members from each division school council to the 25 ASCA conference and AGM by way of reimbursing the participants for the following: registration as outlined in the conference brochure, including gala dinner for registrants, travel as mileage rate outlined on division expense claim form, hotel as per conference rate in the conference brochure. Any other expenses accrued over and above duly noted will be at the expense of the attendee. Meals are included in the conference registration fee. Therefore, any self-incurred meals will not be reimbursed.
thank you. We'll just, we had 2 members from our school council attend, and they were so grateful. They spoke about it, they sent me a letter, which I think I forwarded to everyone. And then again, at the next school council meeting, they again talked about how wonderful it was part of Colorado. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. So, and they were just so thrilled, and they will definitely be going next year. So I just think it's important that maybe if more people went, they'd see the value of it. It's too bad, it's 2 to 6, but it's better than nothing. That's good. Any other discussion on this? Then I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion is passed. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
would it be possible for the school council year-end template, could we add, if it isn't already there, what the utilization, like how they're utilizing ASCA if they're attending the conference, so that we'll have that information to better make decisions in the future?
That's a good idea. When is that template sent out? Superintendent Michaud?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So that template cannot be changed this year because it is written in procedure, and we're not meeting again as an administration, so it could be a request made of school councils as an addition, but I think it is on there already though, but I'd have to refer to it because it's, I can't say for sure if it is.
So we can check and see if it is on there. It's just.
If it's not, could we, in maybe the new school year, send out a survey to the new school council? Because 2 things, they would provide awareness to the new school councils that that is an option for them to use as a reference. And then ask them throughout the year to track as they use it, and then we can maybe complete a survey later in the school year of the 24-25 school year. So I guess what I'm asking is, could we ask school councils at the beginning of the year to keep track of how they're utilizing or accessing ASCA to then report it? What I'm asking?
I know what you're asking.
Okay.
Go ahead, Superintendent Michaud.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the form reads, did the school council utilize the Alberta School Councils Association in any manner this past year? Did any members attend the annual AGMF conference?
Perfect.
So it's on there. That's great. Thank you so much for looking that up. So I will move on then to 5.4, education plan and AERR training timelines and processes. Superintendent Bouchard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you have before you the proposed education plan and AERR timelines and processes. Much is the same as previous years, but I would draw to the board's attention specifically at the bottom that the 4-year cycle will be heading into year 2, which involves the community consultation and an update and strategy feedback portion. That is in the board's calendar, which will be approved later this afternoon in its organizational meeting, but I believe it's February 28th is the date of that. So that is the usual process that aligns with Alberta education surveys, release of data, and previous practices related to the board's education plan. So I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Any questions, specifically with Richard? Then I would see if trustee could put forward this motion. Go ahead, trustee DeMarco.
That the board approve the 2024-2025 education plan and AERR planning timelines and processes as presented.
Thank you. There's no further discussion, and I will call the question. All those in agreement? Thank you. And we move on to 6.1.
Madam Chair, we have an addition to the agenda.
Oh, I've got it on here too. 5.5, and I will ask trustee Burke to read that motion.
That we had to the agenda, Panoka.
Madam Chair, there's no motions.
Oh, sorry. Oh,
There's no motion? You don't need a motion on it?
Well, it's an item for discussion.
Okay. Okay,
If it pleases the board, I'll provide a little background.
okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We were notified on Tuesday that Wolf Creek would not be able to transport the Lacombe and Panoka students on November 29th of 2024. That is problematic as the board has approved a calendar with an instructional day on November 29th of last year. After the board approves the calendars, we submit to Wolf Creek School Division a request to transport our students on the days where they're not in session. This year, that included days in February and November 29th. We were notified on Tuesday that they would transport the students in February, which is when we're in and they're at teachers' convention. Our teachers' conventions don't align. And then November 29th. I believe the rationale that was communicated was that the teachers' convention is not within your control, Star Catholic. However, November 29th is. And we're not in, so to transport your students would be too much of a logistical concern. So therefore, we did receive a formal letter from the division saying that they won't transport our students on that day. So administration is proposing one of two options related to this. First off, we believe that we should consult the parents related to this concern and ask for their feedback. And their feedback would come with two options, as I mentioned. The first option would be that parents would get their children to school on their own that day, but that we would still have an instructional day. The second option would be that it would turn into a professional development day. There would be no students in the building that day. We did ask Wolf Creek if we could pay for transportation. That's not the issue. So those are the two possible options that we have. If it pleases the board, we would send the survey to those families tonight, and it would be open for a week. We would let the families know next Friday kind of what the preference is. If it is to transport their own students, there'd be no need to change the calendar, and it could stand as is. If the parents choose that they would rather have a professional development day, then in August, the board would have to approve a revised calendar that would reflect such. So I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Did you say we asked for transporting for payment and they said that's not an issue?
So we asked if it's a financial concern, we were willing to pay, and they said, no, we're not, it's logistically not possible. We're not prepared to do that for you.
Go ahead.
Well, the survey sounds like that would be the reasonable thing to do, but what would happen if, say, 90% one and just 10% the other? It would still go.
Thank you for that question, Trustee Taylor. We believe that a simple majority will rule the decision. So depending on what parents say, that would be communicated in the survey, that it would be a simple majority, and that's how we would proceed.
My question is, we expect this to be done before the end of June? to set the calendar for next year?
So we would communicate with families the results of the survey next Friday. But if there is a change to calendar, it would have to be approved at the August board meeting. We wouldn't be able to do that formally until that time.
Yes, trustee Marco.
If it became a professional development day, would those instructional hours need to be made up somewhere throughout the school year then?
Trustee, Superintendent Boucher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We believe that we have a buffer in there that we would not have to alter the hours in the calendar.
Good question, thank you. Any other questions? Sure. You don't need a motion on this.
If it's all right with the board, we'll proceed in that manner.
Yes. Sounds good, thank you so much. Committee reports. Yeah, this is, yes, the committee is already been very busy with high school. Is there anything else for that committee? Board self-evaluation ad hoc committee. That. Questions?
Yes. Aside from the report, which I don't believe has actual dates in it, I'm just wondering when we might be able to, as trustees, be expecting the evaluation and what that timeline might look like roughly.
The chair.
Which one are you talking
The
about?
ad hoc committee for self-evaluation.
That's you, Jody.
You're listed as the chair.
Okay.
I can answer the question.
I'm not
if you'd like.
meeting by next week here.
So
Yes, you do.
Yes.
That doesn't list you as the chair.
would you like me to answer?
Sure, go ahead.
So the committee is meeting on Tuesday with the consultant to finalize the questions. The hope is to have everything completed and the surveys to be sent out by the end of June with a 10-day, 2-week turnaround. 10-day turnaround, in hopes that while everything's fresh in everyone's minds before they go on vacation, it's completed. So hopefully by the end of next week, you will have a survey in your email.
Thank you. And I believe he said it's about 15 minutes.
Yes.
So don't worry about sitting down for 2 hours.
Unless you want to.
Unless you want to. And you're the kind of person that needs 2 hours. So I think it's going to be good. We have some really good meetings. Are there any other questions about the board self-evaluation ad hoc committee? The Belmont High School ad hoc committee, we will discuss that. I don't know if there's anything else we can see it on here. Is there any questions regarding that? Then we will move on to good news stories. Start with Drayton Valley. Probably lots of good news from Drayton Valley.
There you go, stop.
We have a big do this summer.
Yeah. Graduation happened, and it was good to see all of the students there graduating. Be exciting to see what they go off and do in the years to come. Yeah, a very good valedictorian speech was done at that event. So
That's great.
that's Drayton Valley.
Great. Graduations are always fun. How about we do trustees? So we'll start with trustee Marco.
Sure. So we also were able to celebrate the grads both at CTK and at Outreach. So it was really great. Our graduation classes are growing every year. They're actually looking at the possibility of outgrowing where they are currently having the ceremony because of the number of graduates, which is great news. And then I also had the opportunity to attend the Indigenous Engagement Parent Night tongue twister. It was a great night. The resource leads, the Indigenous leads at the schools presented the different resources that are available for Indigenous students. And just, it was really great just to be a part of it and to hear what our schools are doing to support Indigenous students. And it also gave families the opportunity to meet, connect as well. So it was done at CTK, but it was for all of the Leduc schools. So it was really great to be a part of that.
You say that you're growing, how many grads here?
There was 64 grads this year. Next year, they're anticipating that they'll likely still fit in the gym. It's the current grade 10 class. If it continues to be the numbers that they are, will likely not fit in the gym, which is positive and negative at the same time. So, because they will have to look for some other place to hold it. But yeah.
Trustee Miller? Well,
Good news.
okay, thank you very much. And let's go to Wetaskiwin.
June 6th was the grad for the grade 9s. It was a beautiful ceremony. And Elder was invited to. Our Indigenous students all got a mix from Seasburg to send them into the sunset. And it was a very packed gym as usual. Because Wetaskiwin have this tradition, and it's always a beautiful tradition. Send a really nice one.
That's good, thank you. Okay.
At our graduation as well, we had 42 graduates this year, which is awesome to see. It just keeps growing and growing. Everyone looked beautiful in the gowns. They have an awesome meal. And also, we've got our playground up and going. So kids were there's pictures on Facebook showing the kids how happy they were.
Great, thank you.
Well, at Mother DeVille, we had 2 soccer teams, and they brought home a banner for the school. And tomorrow morning, we have mass at St. Vital, followed by the grade 9 grad. Which I'm correct.
That's good. And in Lacombe, our grad is coming up next week, our grade 9, they're having a barbecue with they're doing awards for grades 1 to 5, and then a separate time for awards for grades 6 to 9. So I'm hoping that I don't know where I'll be with all these meetings. I might be in Lacombe, I don't know. But I hope to be there for some of the awards. That's what I'm going to do. And we had a beautiful confirmation, I just have to say, because 3 schools came together. St. Augustine's, St. Stephen's, and St. Gregory's. I wasn't able to make it, but Trustee Burke was there, and it was packed, wasn't it?
It was.
Did they end up in the hall too, or was the church big enough?
No, the church is big.
The church is big enough.
Again, they serve cake, refreshments after dinner. It's very nice.
Very nice, yeah. It was so nice to see so many kids, and see the 3 schools come together, the principals and the teachers and parents and everybody, so that was great. It's just been a really good year for everybody at Lacombe. So, is there any other good news someone forgot? Oh yes, we're doing this. The board annual work plan. Oh, sorry, Trustee DeMarco?
Can I just, I realized we had our recognition night for our staff
Right.
And teachers last Friday. But I just also like to acknowledge that this is our last board meeting with Superintendent Bouchard as well as Assistant Superintendent Char Malloy. We're gonna very much miss both of you, but we're excited to move on to have a new team. But I just wanted to acknowledge and thank you for everything you've done for our division. I know I've only worked with you for a couple of years, but it's been a pleasure. So enjoy your retirement and traveling and pickleball and all of the lists your spouses have for you.
Baseball.
Yeah.
What a great comeback. Yes, we're gonna miss you guys.
Yes, we will.
So have a look at the annual work plan. We pretty well touched on everything. Now we go to the board calendar. Everything is on here. Today's the day. Just a reminder about the expense claims, we'd like you to send your expense claim at the end of the month. To Nick and to Kim, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Board action sheet. Is there any?
There are no actions, Madam Chair.
Pardon?
There are no actions.
There's no correspondence, so coming to the closing prayer. Okay, prayer of St. Thomas Aquinas. To join the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Grant me, O Lord, my God, a mind to know you, a heart to seek you, wisdom to find you, conduct pleasing to you, faithful perseverance in waiting for you, and a hope of finally embracing you. St. Thomas Aquinas, pray for us. Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. And I will adjourn the meeting at 2:34. Thank you, everyone. Take a little break.
Yeah, thank you. Just wanted to, just to make sure that we are all good in terms of our technology, we need to use our laptops, our computers, our phones.
Do we want to stop live stream?
Yes.
Thank you.